Hey, Team Rhino. So, there's one thing that we don't really talk about a whole lot or work on a whole lot, and that's like specifically in our training, we don't have what you would consider standard sales training, right? We talk about, find people's why, and we talk about go talk to a whole bunch of people. And more of the philosophy is, go out there and talk to as many people as you can, and the person who tells their story the most times wins. And I do agree with that philosophy. I don't think that keeps us from being able to talk about, the details of how you talk to people and actually go through some sales training. Um, I think one of the reasons why we stay away from it is because we don't want to think of ourselves as salesmen, and I think that's a good thing, to think of ourselves as sharing our stories, sharing products that we love, that kind of stuff. But in standard sales and sales training, there's actually a lot of good things in there, not creepy things, not things that you should run from, but things that actually teach you how to interact with people in a way that the way I like to put it is it gets them out of their own way. If you want to get more people out of their own way so that you can take, those, let's say you talk to 100 people because you've got to talk to 100 people in order to get 5 of them to say yes. And you're like, okay, well, there's my numbers. And so I'm just going to talk to 500 people because I want 25 people to say yes this month. Well, shoot, 500 people. Well, what if you could take that 5 people out of every 100 that you talk to or whatever and turn it into 40 people out of every 100 that you talk to say yes? What if you could do that? Wouldn't that be better? Well, so I'm just going to give you one tip today. One idea of a way that you could maybe do a little bit better at talking to people, getting people out of their own way, helping them see the value of your challenge groups, helping them see the value of what you offer, so that you can increase your ratio. That's what we want to do. We want to increase our ratio. You're going to talk to a whole bunch of people. That's what we do. But we want to increase the ratio of the number of people that say yes or the number of people that maintain interest versus the number of people that say no. Okay, so here's one way that you can increase your ratio. So we're going to talk about um, asking questions, right? We talk about this, throughout 7-day training and everything. You got to ask questions, but most of what we talk about is, well, you got to ask open-ended questions, and you got to get down to their why and ask them why they want to do the challenge, and ask them questions. But we don't give enough. I think we could do better at giving more examples and more um, direction on what types of questions to ask and how to ask those questions. Okay, let me give you an example of something that might happen to someone when we tell them go find out somebody's why. That's like step 2 in the 5-step invite process, right? They say, yes, I'm interested in your challenge group. Can you tell me more? You go try to find their why. Someone might say, oh, well, I need to find their why. And the first question you ask is a big, hairy question. It's kind of like, well, what do you want? What would you want to gain from this challenge? How could you, what's basically trying to ask them what their why is in a big, hairy, open-ended question that's difficult to answer. Basically, you're asking people to open up to you very early in the conversation. A lot of times what I've realized is that I don't really do that. What I actually do is I ask them a whole bunch of smaller, easier questions, and then when they open up more, I ask them the bigger questions. And so I think that's a really good way to break down getting to somebody's why a little better. So the tool I want you guys to learn from this and actually get is how to ask closed-ended uh, diagnostic type questions to get people to open up more so that you can actually ask for their why. Okay, so let's talk about how to do that and give some examples of what I'm talking about. Um, okay, so here's what I did. I took 90-10 groups because that's one of the things that I invite to the most, and I'll do it for T25 groups too, but let's talk about 90-10 groups first. And I wrote down on a list right here on a piece of paper, I wrote down some of the benefits of 90-10 groups. and some of the things that people can change if they get into a 90-10 group. Things that are common, that happen, that everyday people have these issues, and 90-10 groups will help them solve them. So I wrote those down. And then I wrote down from those, I wrote down a few diagnostic questions that I could ask the person to, after they say they're interested, I could ask this person these questions to help open them up and build credibility with them, and also kind of show them whether this fits with them or not. Okay, so let me give you an example of what would happen. Okay, so let's say you posted on Facebook about your 90-10 group that starts next week, and somebody messaged you and said, I saw your post about 90-10. I would like to, I'm interested. Can you tell me a little bit more? Okay, so where do you go from here? I mean, step one, you've kind of invited sort of via that Facebook post. You're kind of at step two now, right? You need to find out why they're interested. You need to kind of get down to their why. So your first question is not necessarily some big open-ended question. What I might do is I say, oh, okay, I'll tell you more about the challenge group. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions? I'll actually ask people, do you mind if I ask you a few questions? Most people that are coming to you asking for that are easy going to say yes. Oh, yeah, sure, fine, no problem. They're going to say, I don't mind if you ask me a few questions, right? So I'll start with something like, one of the things I wrote down here was that you're in a group, in the challenge group, and there's accountability there. So I might ask them, do you find when you're doing things like starting a new diet or starting a new workout routine that you do better when you have the accountability of a group, or are you more of a on your own type of person? So I just gave them a choice there. It's a diagnostic question. I gave them a choice. It's closed-ended. It says pick this option or this option. These are your two options. Now that doesn't mean that they couldn't throw in a third option or something like that, like sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. But most likely someone's going to pick one of the two options that you gave them. Most cases people are going to say that they're better off with the accountability of other people, right? Okay, good. So check, they meet that requirement for this being something that will help them, right? You see where this is kind of going. So I ask them another diagnostic question. So on a typical day, would you say that you, or maybe we would go with a week. In a typical week, do you say you eat out less than 3 times or more than 3 times? Again, you've got two options there for them, and they can answer that question. You kind of get from that how often these people eat out, and then you can even ask them, if you don't mind me asking, how much do you figure you spend eating out on a typical week? You can ask them that question. Then you can go into diagnostic questions like, are you one that plans your meals out in advance, like for the entire week, or do you just kind of go day to day? Okay, so you see where we're going, right? We keep asking diagnostic questions. Now you can't go too far with that. Like if you sit here for, and ask 20 diagnostic questions, people are going to feel a little bit grilled, right? But a few diagnostic questions that kind of help point out the benefits of your group, because you can say, like after, are you one that plans out your meals, or do you kind of go day to day? You can say, oh, okay, you're one who usually goes day to day. In these groups, we usually have meal plans that come out, so we'll help you out with that meal planning so that you can have that for the whole week. And then you ask another diagnostic question: are you one that has plenty of time to cook, or are you really tight on time, where you just don't have a whole bunch of time to cook? Okay, you don't have a whole bunch of time to cook, so convenient meals are going to be, something that's going to be important to you. Okay. That sounds good. Do you have trouble finding recipes that you like and that are also healthy, or do you have a bunch of healthy recipes? Or are you one that's always looking for healthy recipes and trying to figure out how to make them healthy? You can ask them these kind of diagnostic questions. I might not ask them all of those, I've got probably, 30 diagnostic questions I could ask related to nutrition, one after the other, and then kind of just briefly highlighting the benefit that our group has that could help them, before I ask the next diagnostic question. Okay, so these are kind of closed-ended questions. Once I've asked a few diagnostic questions, it just depends on the person. I can't give you an exact formula, but let's say 4 or 5 diagnostic questions, and all of their answers point towards this group would be awesome for you. Then I can move into their why, because that builds the credibility. You can kind of tell by their responses, whether you're building the credibility there and they're kind of trusting you now, or not, and you need to, build that credibility a little bit more. But if it sounds like, hey, they're like, wow, yeah, that sounds pretty good, then you can go into, okay, so this challenge is going to help you out a lot with your meal planning. It's going to help you with the accountability piece that you said you need in order to be successful. We've got some parts of it that are going to help you with the convenience factor. You talked about that when you diet, you usually feel hungry all the time, so we're going to help you out. This is going to be able to help you out with that. Most of the people that are in these groups say that they'll eat this way for the rest of their lives, and they're not usually hungry anymore because they've learned how to eat this way. So let's just talk a little bit about what you would want to gain out of this challenge if you took this challenge, and then that's where you go into their why. Okay, so it doesn't take long, right? It could be 3, 4 quick diagnostic questions, a little wrap up of what happened in that diagnosis, and then boom, right into the why. Okay, let's do T25. Let's give an example of T25. So someone, you sent somebody a message, let's say, and said, I'm starting a T25 group on this day. I thought of you, thought maybe you might want to do this with me. Okay, they come back and say, oh, that sounds really interesting. What are the details of it? Okay, you come back and say, oh, awesome, I'm glad you're interested. Let me ask you a few questions to see if it fits you. Is that okay? Yeah, sure. Ask me a few questions to see if it fits me. Okay, well, do you struggle with time to work out, or are you more, or do you set aside quite a bit of time to work out? Now, if you already know that about the person, you might rephrase that and say, I know that you struggle with time to work out. Is that correct? You know, um, it just depends. But if it's a new person, you're not really sure how much time they set aside to work out, great diagnostic question. Do you struggle with time to work out, or are you more one that likes to set aside an hour to an hour and a half of time? So this is a T25 group that they're interested in, right? And so if they say they struggle with time to work out, when they say, yeah, oh yeah, I struggle with time to work out, I barely have enough time to even think about working out. Oh, great, because T25, as you probably know, is only 25 minutes. So that's going to be awesome for you. Right on to the next diagnostic question. Okay, so maybe the next diagnostic question is similar to one that we asked with 90/10. Are you one who, would like to meet someone at the gym, or have an accountability partner to get through a workout program, or are you more one that's just fine on your own? Most people are going to say, yeah, I need the accountability. I can't do it on my own. Great, good. So this group's going to help you out with that. And then you can go into things like, okay, so are you more of a weightlifting type of person, or do you like cardio more? Like you like cardio-based things, or are you one that likes to get into the weight room and lift heavy stuff? If they come back and say what they really love is to lift heavy stuff, you can dig into that a little bit more and find out if it worked for them, and if it didn't work for them, maybe T25 is still okay. Or if it had worked for them in the past and that's what they really like to do, you can say, you know what, T25 might not be your best option. You might want to join my Body Beast challenge group that starts on this day, or my friend's Body Beast challenge group, or whatever. Okay, if they say cardio, it's like, oh, cool. Well, T25 has got a bunch of cardio, and it's also got a lot of strength work in it, but it's mostly body weight based, and there's an awesome amount of really fun cardio, so that's going to work well with you. Now, are you more into dance type cardio, or you just like to get your heart rate up, or more into the kickboxing type thing? What if they come back and say, well, I really like dance type stuff? Well, you could say, okay, well, T25 is kind of dance-like, but it's not exactly like the hip hop type dancing. We do have some programs like that, but I think T25 is still going to fit you based on that. So you see what I'm doing. I'm just using a, do you like this or do you like that? Do you have problems with this or are you okay with that? Do you this or do you that? And I'm going through these diagnostic questions with them, and then I go for their why, and then we move on to, okay, let's sign you up for the challenge group. And I'll even use diagnostic questions when I'm in like step 4 of the inviting. So once they've gotten used to me asking those diagnostic questions, I've asked their why, and I'm like, okay, this challenge group's going to fit you just perfect based on everything you've told me. You've told me about the time. You've told me about needing the accountability. That you like the cardio and a little bit of dance type stuff. This is all going to fit you really well. Now, what we need to know is, do you like chocolate or do you like vanilla? So, I mean, seriously, you can go into diagnostic questions like that. We need to get you signed up with your challenge pack. Are you more of a chocolate shake kind of person or vanilla? And you can ask those kind of diagnostic questions if you want to. That way you can send them the challenge pack via the mobile app. Okay, I hope that was helpful for you, to kind of help you learn how to talk to people even better and really help them get out of their own way. You can see how maybe going from, yeah, I'm interested in the challenge group, to what's your why right away without kind of working into that, can be daunting for some people. Some people don't really give you their true whys. You don't get enough information from the person. They might shut down. More often than not, I think one of the reasons why we don't cover this as often, or as much as we could, is because more often than not, the problem is not so much that people don't know how to get to people's why, or don't have the ability to talk to people this way. It's more that you're a little scared of it overall, and so you just skip it, right? How many times, be honest, how many times has somebody said, yeah, I'm interested in your challenge group, and the next thing you did was you went for, oh, okay, well, here's the details of it. You need to buy a challenge pack, or you need to buy the program, and here's the link. And when you're done buying the program, it'll put you in the group, and then you just give like a 10-second, here's how the group works, right? You're skipping all the parts that really connect them to what it is. And those parts are in the why, right? And so use the diagnostic questions to get to the point where you can really ask the why, get them connected via that why, and then when you go into sending links on how to order, they're in. They want in. Okay, so you're getting them out of their way so that when it comes to pocketbook time, they're already so invested in the whole process, thinking that this is exactly what they need, which it is. So they're already so into, this is what I need, that the pocketbook comes out because they want what you're offering. But if you don't show them that value through the why, through the diagnostic questions, through showing them what problems they have that this can solve, then the pocketbook will not come out, or at least not as often, unless they've already done this to themselves and they just know that this is what they want, or they're impulse purchasers, or various other reasons why people might go ahead and buy, right? So I hope this was helpful for you. Once again, please ask questions about it, but there's the basic way that you do the diagnostic questions, okay? It's time for me to go to bed. It's really late, so I think I'm going to do a whole series on this kind of stuff, some different ways that you can talk to people. Please give me your feedback, okay? Sorry for the video being so long. I know I'm kind of rambling now. I'll talk to you guys later.